think the alien UFO UAP conversation is certainly one that the internet has always had. And obviously the Tic Tac video that came out on the internet years ago that we had all seen, and then the Pentagon confirms it, right? The Pentagon comes out and says, yes, this is actual video that we shot, and we do not know what this is. It's moving at a speed and in a manner that we don't think is man-made, basically, is what the Pentagon said. Like, there was no answers to what this thing was that the internet had known for like 10 years. We had seen this on the internet, and it got legitimized. I don't understand. Do you think they're purposefully not trying to answer any questions? Do they go in there with the mindset to not answer any questions? Or do you think they legitimately just don't look into anything so they don't have any answers? Because that's more scary, I think, than the first answer.
Well, I think there's a couple possibilities. One, it's possible that even these guys who we've tasked and the Secretary of Defense have tasked with getting to the bottom of this and figuring out aren't aware of everything that the federal government is doing. Put differently, there may be some program they don't even have access to. And that's problematic, right?
Yes.
Because that should be the first hypothesis that we're able to disconfirm, right? If it's a program that existed in the past that we have insight into, open up the books, right? Let's declassify as much as possible.
Why wouldn't they?
Compromising.
Mike, why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they open the books? Because they'd be scared about the reaction of the people?
Well, I think, and I come from an intelligence background. There's always this argument that, okay, if you declassify the stuff, you're going to compromise sources and methods. Now, I think that's a bogus argument in this case. To your point, I mean, the Tic Tac video, everyone's seen that. Furthermore, I think the entry point into this discussion for a lot of people is that the pilots are legit. I mean, I've talked to David Fravor. Like, these guys are Top Gun pilots, right? And it's not just two separate pilots. It's not just like the Mavericks and the Iceman. You also have the Gooses, the guys that are sitting in the backseat who confirm this stuff. So you can't dismiss the pilots. And also, I think that is the hardest to explain, right? Like, if you think a lot of these incidents are actually natural phenomenon or weather or a commercial drone, and I bet that explains a lot of them, it doesn't explain the TikTok video. And honestly, the hypothesis I brought into the debate, right? You got to understand my bias. I do U.S.-China defense competition. That's kind of my thing, right? Like, I wake up every day thinking,
hey, pretty fucking important, right?
Yeah.
Hey, that's pretty big deal.
Right?
Yeah,
like,
pretty big
how
deal.
do we win this new Cold War with China, right? And my suspicion is that we're losing right now. So when I came into this, I thought, oh,
we don't like that.
It's got to be the communists, right? It's got to be communist China spoofing our ranges or doing something weird. And I'll say this as someone who still kind of favors that hypothesis. That doesn't explain the Tic Tac video. Yeah. I don't have a good explanation for the Tic Tac video, which is why you can't dismiss the extraterrestrial hypothesis. So I don't know, man. We have a long way to go before we're even close to answering basic questions. And again, listen, I appreciate that they're taking it seriously, but they can't answer basic questions.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
We had a classified portion afterwards. I'm not going to comment on classified information, but I just will say this. Obviously, I'm still frustrated with the lack of answers. So,
okay,
interpret that as you will.
Oh, it was a bunch of malarkey.
Wow.
Go ahead, AJ.
Are these other countries, like, is there anything going on over there? Are they trying to figure out if they have, like, do they have sightings? I don't know. Like, are they keeping it off the internet? I feel like we're the only ones investigating all of this. I would think this is a worldwide thing, not just us.
Well, I think it's fair to say that, they're following the debate we're having here in America. I'm being a little bit cagey. I just don't want to stray into any classified territory. Again, I'm not trying to hide behind that, and I just made a whole speech about how everything's overclassified, but I'm not going to be the one to violate the. Right? Like,
you're a new politician.
Go to jail. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, okay. Like, they're aware of what's going on, and if China saw, let me put it this way: if China saw an opportunity to make us look stupid and to discredit some of these questions, they wouldn't hesitate, right? They had their diplomats all over American social media. These guys are called Wolf Warrior diplomats. Look up Wolf Warrior. It's the second highest grossing Chinese film of all time. It's crazy. You can watch it on YouTube. But the bottom line is they got their guys attacking us every single day. So if they saw an advantage in discrediting this discussion, they would. So I think everyone should take the discussion seriously. And again, even if you're skeptical about the extraterrestrial hypothesis, and I, Pat, would like to offer you an alternative idea that I think is more plausible, even if you're skeptical of that, it is fact that things are appearing on our ranges. They're fouling our ranges. That's why they're called range foulers. It presents a safety risk to our pilots. We have to figure what the hell is going on. And right now, we've got no answers from the Pentagon. We've got absolutely no answers, which is why declassify as much as possible, invite the help of the private sector. It's not just like fringe people looking into this. Like, there are multi-millionaires and billionaires in the VC and private equity community that are fascinated by this question. Let's get the help of the private sector, and let's figure out what the heck's going on. And yesterday was just fundamentally unacceptable.
I agree. Listen, I don't watch C-SPAN ever. Okay, I tried to yesterday. I for this entire thing, I was really jacked up about it. Thought you had a good performance.
Yeah, great job.
Thought you had a pretty good performance. There's a couple others that had good performances as well. We appreciate you joining us fresh out of that. But is that how it always goes? Like, is that how it always goes? And are those happening all day, every day? Why are people saying, why is the House wasting time on this? Like, this seems like the most important fucking thing on earth. No, like, honestly, no joke there. Not that there isn't other important stuff, but if there's somebody that has much better capabilities than us, we know about, and they're potentially getting closer and closer as we're learning more and more information, like, I feel like that's a rather important piece of, intel that people would want to hear. Is that type of shit happening every day, all day? And is this, kind of status quo? No answers, but we're asking good questions, starting conversation. Is that how it all works in there?
Well, a UFO hearing isn't happening every day. That was our first one in 50 years. But on any given day, there's 20 hearings going on. I've already been to 4 today, and I got 2 more to go. And it just spans the range of issues. That's where most of your work is done in Congress, in committees. But it's also a wide range. I mean, some are total, for lack of a better phrase, shit shows.
Yeah.
Am I allowed to swear?
Yeah. You already have, I think, a couple times. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I'm going to get in trouble.
Yeah, you took us down. Took us down.
And part of and some of them devolve into just members are trying to get clicks, get followers, and get their sort of 5 minutes of fame. Some are serious and sober, and then some are like yesterday, which is just frustrating, and we don't have witnesses that can give us basic answers. But I mean, that stuff's happening all day, particularly in the armed services and intel committees.
I don't know enough about government. I apologize. I probably should have done more research or paid attention in civics class, but I feel like it's all changing inevitably. And even though there's still very old-fashioned yay, nay stuff happening.
Come on.
I mean, the evolution of government is fascinating because it's not really happening, but it seems like the world is happening. Yesterday was, I don't want to call something a letdown, but that was a massive letdown yesterday, and it feels like you feel the same way. You said you kind of lean against extraterrestrial. What is your hypothesis? You think it's just Fowlers and potential defense mechanisms? Like, for instance, there was, an orange globe in outside of our plane in Indiana. There was multiple globes spotted in Houston. There is then one allegedly outside of an aircraft carrier out in the middle of the ocean. This is a recreation of what they said they saw that they had no defense against, allegedly. They couldn't shoot down these. They thought it was drones because they were on a drones defense mission. It wasn't drones. It was actual globes or bulbs, they said, that was following them around. This is via, I think, the New York Times or something like that article. So it feels like there's a lot of these situations out there. You said you're not necessarily a massive believer, but it has kind of piqued your interest because of the lack of information that we're learning about, so you're diving into it more. What is the common conversation around, your circles over there in government about these things that pop up? Just a bunch of weather things and bullshit is kind of how it's all dismissed? And is there anything else that's being taken super serious, like the Tic Tac video?
I think we've actually gotten beyond the hiding behind sort of weather or natural phenomena to explain some of these. Now, again, I think that could explain, yesterday we talked about there's been 144 incidents with multiple sources of reporting. So it's not just a pilot seeing something, but also radar picking it up. Natural phenomena could account for some subset of that, but not all of it. So what are you left with, right? I sort of put forward the foreign adversary hypothesis. There's the extraterrestrial hypothesis. Again, I'm trying not to lean for or against it. Yes. I just don't think we know enough right now to dismiss it or say definitively that's the explanation. The third, and I think really interesting one, is that it's not extraterrestrial, but rather interdimensional, right? So the idea that it could be us from the future. And
Whoa! Here we go. This is what I'm talking about, Mike. Okay.
So think about the headlines tomorrow are going to be Gallagher.
Yeah.
It's the Mars portal, right?
I've already priced that in. Okay, so think Terminator, right? So go back 200 years, and you would say, okay, you guys don't have cars, you don't have internet. You don't have good machine guns. What the heck's going on? Like, get your act together technologically.
They don't have
So
anything.
go from our point in history forward 200 years, and whoever's left at that point, if we can avoid nuking ourselves, is going to say, wait, you guys can't bend space and time. We figured that out like 50, 100 years ago, right? We already, my understanding, and again, I'm not a technologist, is that there is technology, technically, that can do teleportation of something called neutrinos, and also technology that proves that subatomic particles can move faster than the speed of light. Einstein tells us that's true. Theoretically, time travel is possible. So that is the third hypothesis, that people in the future, us, have figured out how to bend space and time, and it's our technology coming back from the future. That's the Terminator hypothesis. What say you?
Did you cook this up yourself, or is this amongst members of Congress and things like that?
It's I would say there's a group of people on the outside that believe that this is more plausible than the extraterrestrial explanation, and serious people too, like people that have made billions of dollars and people that know technology far better than I do. Again, I'm not privileging that over another one. I'm just saying, we got to go into this debate not foreclosing anything just because we think, oh, it's dumb to talk about aliens, and the Washington Post will call you a conspiracy theorist or this or that. Let's follow the evidence wherever it leads, and I don't yet know where that's going to lead. But let's just follow it.
Imagine if that's just some future Connor Campbell flying around on that Tic Tac, fucking with everybody.
I feel it in my bones.
Oh my god!
But then you get into the Terminator paradox, right? Are you aware of the Terminator paradox?
Well, you can't run into each other.
Well, who created Terminator? Ask yourself that question.
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
No. So Miles Benedict Tyson
James.
creates in Terminator 2 Terminator from a Terminator chip or something that comes from the future. So you can't. It already existed. It's like circular logic. Anytime you get into time travel, you're talking circular logic. It doesn't make sense once you think about it. No knock on Terminator. I think it's an awesome movie. So,
if the UFO conversation will continue to happen, or because yesterday not giving us any answer, they're going to shut it down. And when do the aliens just start coming in and waving hello to us?
Well, I think the genie's out of the bottle, and that's a good thing, right?
Yes.
As much as you were frustrated by the hearing, I was frustrated by the hearing, and we obviously didn't get answers. Now the conversation is just it's increased so much, and there's a lot of serious people that are interested. And I will say, I got to give credit to the Senate and Senator Marco Rubio in particular. They've actually taken this investigation very seriously from the start, and so I think you're going to see more discussion, maybe not as many open hearings, if indeed, we just need to be in a more secure space to get to the bottom of this. But there's a lot of people that I think over the course of the next year we can interview, and we can start to piece together what's actually going on here. So I actually don't think they're going to be able to shut it down, even if they want to. And I don't think DOD is trying to shut it down necessarily. Maybe they're mildly annoyed, or maybe there's some competition going on between defense and intel, but there's no way in which you can sort of shut the conversation down at this point.
That's good news. Go ahead, AJ.
Mike, first off, who the hell is in charge of putting out those nude drawings, supposedly, of humans that we sent to the aliens? And also, are there? Can you confirm there are actually alien life forms stored at Wright Pat Air Force Base in Ohio? I used to take field trips there at school.
I cannot. So I don't know who's in charge of the new drawings. If you ever remember that movie Contact? That was
Jodie Foster. Yeah,
Midnight. Yeah, good movie, by the way. Based on a book by Carl Sagan. Basically, one of the subplots of that is that we're constantly sending our television programs out into space. And so in the book, basically the first image the aliens sent back is Hitler at the Olympics in 1938 or something, because that was one of the first powerful television signals that actually made it sufficiently far into space. So, indeed.
We're continuing to not send our best. The drawings that they sent up there are terrible drawings of the human. Terrible drawing.
Well, I assume the signal that we're on now is powerful, and so it's possible the Pat McAfee Show is being beamed into other galaxies and far away.
How you doing?
As for your second question,
I've been fucking keeping an eye on you guys.
I have not.
Don't want to be sexist in your planet. Jesus.
It has occurred to me that now that I'm on the Intel committee, I can probably go visit Area 51 and go visit all these places.
Get your ass out there, Mike.
Yeah, that's sort of the next phase of this investigation.
I have zero faith.
They'll shut you down.
Yeah, I was about to say, I have zero faith in us ever learning anything that is like, oh, that'd be sweet to learn about in the government. I'm happy to hear your optimism, though. Like, it sounds like...
But you guys think that, like, the evil bureaucrats in the executive branch are actively trying to shut down access to a program that's existed for a long time that involves aliens. That's the theory you believe.
I mean, pretty firmly, yeah.
Yeah. I guess I think the best counter argument, and I'm not dismissing that, by the way.
Sounds like you are.
Thank you.
The question is, how many people would have had access to that program over what period of time, and can you keep something like that a secret, particularly given how much interest there's been in the topic? Maybe the counter to that counter is that the Manhattan Project involved hundreds of people and was kept secret, so you could. But that's usually how people respond when you make that.
Yeah.
And by the way,
I don't think I have enough respect for people keeping something to themselves that's important. Now that you kind of point that out, because that's kind of the answer to a lot of things. Like, so all these people know about insert thing and they're just not telling anybody, and that's a great rebuttal, I would assume. But what if it is just a very small group that you're talking about? What was it? You even mentioned it earlier, that potentially a part of the government that we have never heard of is working on something. Does that take place? Isn't that like kind of what the CIA does anyways?
Well, you have all these very highly compartmentalized programs that only certain people are read into, and in some cases that exists for good reason. But it's quite possible that there is sort of one arm of the government doing something, and only 10 people are read into that program, and another arm of the government that's doing something tangentially related to that is not aware, just because they don't have the need to know for that program. I mean, this happens all the time. I mean, you think about just the complex mess that is our national security bureaucracy, right? You have 18 different intelligence agencies, you got DOD, you got this, you got that. And so part of this investigation going forward is going to have to involve breaking down those barriers. The reason I introduced the Wilson memo, and again, I don't know if it's true, right? My whole theory on this is that if it's not, this should be the easiest thing for the Defense Department to disconfirm, right? Talk to Wilson, talk to Eric Davis, talk to everybody else that's still alive that's mentioned in that memo, and figure out if there's anything legitimate in there. And if not, all right, then we can remove that and we can focus on what remains. But the fact is, as you saw yesterday, they weren't even aware of it. They claimed they had never.
See, that's tough to take serious when they say, that for my theory. Let's say that is my theory, that I believe for a long time people are just keeping it quiet. I think watching yesterday, I feel empowered almost even more. Like, yeah, they're definitely hiding. It feels like they're hiding something, not saying something, because they're acting as if something that everybody basically has heard of doesn't even exist. It's like, why would you do that? It's hard not to just keep drumming it. But the alien extraterrestrial convo is just so, it's so immense, because then you start thinking about the ripple effects. Like, okay, now you talk about religion. So like there's maybe some religious people that don't want this to take place or find out about either. And then, for security and for finances and for, there's so many things that potentially can get fucked if this is legitimized, that you would think people would want to keep it quiet for the sake of the people. If you're a government, like, we're looking out for the people, like we're thinking they can't handle that information. So it just feels like it's a never-ending.
Yeah, or we felt like there was an advantage in us knowing about it and nobody else in the world knowing about it, right? Like if we had
the wolf warriors out there looking for
if we had stumbled upon or created technology.
Lazar said, like Lazar.
The generational leap, right? We wouldn't want the Russians, we wouldn't want, the Chinese, we wouldn't want the Iranians, discovering it, right? So that would be the justification, keeping it secret, more than any profit motive or what I think is a more likely theory, just pure bureaucratic overlay and mess and complexity. So again, I don't know. I just have started to pull the string on a few of these things. And I expected us to have a more candid discussion yesterday, and that's not what happened. I mean, part of the
we did not. We actually were you were either going to get absolutely nothing or everything, and it turned out it was the first one, which I think empowers the internet to be like, these motherfuckers know more than they're saying. Lazar was right. Lazar was right. You know, like that's a whole nother story that we could even dive into. You guys should get his ass to get in there and maybe talk to him with everything he said. I mean, it's a never-ending conversation.